Hello everybody and welcome to day number 5 here at Wuhan, and we're back for the quarterfinal action as once again a little bit of a change in the TNT broadcast, and it will be Mark Williams against Zhang here in the opening morning session. Nothing has happened in the opening 2 or 3 minutes here, as just seems to be an exchange of safeties after both players have been unable to take their early break chances. So now Zhang has 9 points and a good safety to his name there, while Williams only has 1 to his name so far. So now we are ready to continue now, finally, after some kind of a delay. Williams now with an aggressive shot to get a cue ball safe onto the bulk area and land it nicely behind the green there. So this time it is Zhang's turn to respond. Be really interesting to see these two players clashing with each other. Of course, Williams had to overcome Selby in the late drama yesterday. TNT's not broadcasting Moody's match. Looks like, yes, exactly. They've done it again after the Stevens Jington match. They've now switched it to Discovery Plus. But I think this one anyway is a lot more interesting to do, as Zhang finds a brilliant long pot, but it looks like he'll just give him 1 more point. And it looks like he'll be just a snooker behind the green. Nicely done there by Zhang. Williams now with a chance himself to, for now, get himself back in the frame. Of course, trailing by 10 points to 1 wouldn't make a massive difference, but a snooker in an awkward position will. Just to make sure he overcomes any sort of problems with that stuff. So he uses 2 cushion escape there, tried to roll up 3 cushions in the end. Tries to roll up to one of the bottom reds, misses it, so it'll be 4 points to Zhang there. And of course Williams will be asked to put the position exactly as it was and resume from there. So still a lot of reds in open play, but quite a few of them actually quite bunched up closely to each other, with the pink being once again covered up by some of them. The black is out of his spot, but still very much in open play, as this time Williams finds a brilliant escape shot, and Angda will now respond with a safety shot of his. So far a safety start to this match, which is something I didn't really expect. Both players quite to be on the attacking end of things, especially if you talk about Williams. You not really see him engage in many safety battles that last longer than at least 5 shots each. This time Angda once again finds a really good shot with a cue ball control. Sends it quite close to the bulk area. Williams will probably have a cross double attempt to his name. You can't really see any of the reds on the right hand side of the table. And it's his turn now to find some kind of a safety shot, unless he wants to go for a pot. So he decides against it in the end. It did look like he could potentially be aiming for one. In the end, just goes for a safety sense. One of the reds quite close to the yellow pocket. And the cue ball covered up on the black ball cushion there. Of course, Angda will not be able to see any part of that red into the yellow pocket, but what he also has is a nice little red into the left middle if he wants to take it on. Of course, high risk, high reward here, with him almost guaranteed to be landing on at least one of the colours. But should he miss that, it'll become a problem, as Williams will be very much back in position there. So taking his time there, Zhang. Just making sure that you can see sort of all the sides to this position. And all the sides to this shot. Still does seem to be taking this shot into the left middle on, with the cue ball being quite close to the cushion, and you can use the top spin on it. And yeah, so it was always going to be a difficult shot for him to take on, but not this time, as he catches the wrong jaw of the pocket there, and the red ball stays out. This time it's Williams with a chance, with an easier pot into the right middle there. So now finally potentially a chance for Williams to have some break of his own. And he starts off well with a nice clean pot. Has got a few reds on the top part of the table, and even more now with those late safety shots with Zhang and Williams himself on the bottom side of the table as well. So I think he'll try to eliminate the two at the top and then just switch the run of play on towards the bottom side of the table, and just to try and clear up majority of those reds. I don't think he'll need all of them to become the frame winner. He's of course to do that. This time he goes for the brown, so a nice little staying up for the red. That is going to be the last near the bulk area. And on top of the ball colors, with the yellow being the only one of the three that is not on his spot. But I don't think that will bother Williams too much at this moment in time. If anything, it could actually prove to be quite a positive factor for him. Of course, should he miss one of those late reds and Zhang be coming back into the frame, that yellow will become a problem for the Chinese world number 12. For now though, Williams makes sure he deals with the green, lands really nicely on the bottom side of the table. And now we'll try and get the black on its spot and be playing around it. For now, needs to try and develop the last red that is close to the pink. Does it perfectly there. Lands on the black nicely himself. So in prime position now, Mark Williams, to take the opening frame. And already being 10 points clear. As long as he doesn't make any unforced errors or run out of position, it should be quite a straightforward end to this frame, with all the reds being spread out very nicely, not blocking each other's way really in any shape or form. 11 points clear already, making that 18 with a black. And now we'll have to land on top of the black once again, with another red disappearing off into the right corner pocket there. And this time Williams does it really nicely, 33 points, because we make that 40 here. And I think he'll try and land on one of the top reds there, quite close to the blue area, which he does. So a logical shot for him to take that one out of the equation quite early, so that he can try and be very much in and around the pink and the black spot there. So hasn't had to use the blue too much in this break. Looks like it'll be the last time you'll be doing that. It's only a couple of pots away now, Mark Williams, to get this frame done and dusted with. So needs to be careful. He just holds the cue ball there nicely into the pink, and potentially use that as a cushion, which he did. Nicely done so far. This break, even though it wasn't the hardest position, it still has been managed by Williams to an absolute perfection. And those little shots, those little flicks that he's been able to do off the colors when landing on the reds, have really proved to be important for him, as he's got the first 50 plus break of the match, with it being 52 already. Still potentially enough points for a century break, but for now, of course, his number one priority is going to be get the frame over and done with, as he's only one pot away from that. The pink will be his frame ball. We'll put him 46 ahead with 43 on the table. So looking like a really good start for Williams in the opening frame, as pink disappears now. So it is Mark Williams that takes the opening frame in a really good fashion, you have to say, for the snooker. You know, has had pretty much one visit apart from the only red that he's managed to pot, and he's been able to do the damage in this visit here. Now then, the question comes, can he do a century break with just about enough points here? You know, the yellow, as I say, is resting on the cushion there, so 66 points on a break, 35 here on the table, if he is to play that with the red and the black. So we'll indeed try and do that and land on the yellow nicely, which of course will give him some sort of a chance for a century, but needs to land on it perfectly to have a good angle with the green. And probably has landed way too far for that to happen. It's going to be really hard for him to try and get the yellow into the pocket, as he doesn't get enough power on it. So a break of 74 is going to be the end of the first frame. And a really good start from Mark Williams, you have to say. You know, he's done everything he had to do in this quarterfinal on table number 1. And he's now 1 frame ahead here of Zhang. Of course, the match that was supposed to be showing here on the current stream is Zhao Xingdong against Stan Moody. Didn't happen because of the change in the TNT broadcast, but Stan Moody is on the cusp here of winning the opening frame against Xiao Guodong after winning 7 of his last frames of his campaign. He's looking to make that 8 after whitewashing Barry Hawkins yesterday and getting the best of Zhou Yulong and Ding Junhui in in the first 2 rounds. And then, of course, beating Barry Hawkins in the last 16 yesterday as well, for good measure. Xiao Guodong himself has had a decent campaign, beating the likes of David Grace and Matthew Selt yesterday, with, of course, Ishpreet Singh Chadha being the Indian world number 1 that he had to beat in the opening round here at Wuhan Open. So I think it's fair to say that Moody's has had a more difficult start to this campaign, but I think the first real test for Zhao Guodong is going to be Stan Moody himself, with Moody already overcoming the players like Barry Hawkins and Zhou Yulong, and of course Ding Junhui, which I think all 3 of them would have been the favourites going into this match, as is Guodong at this moment in time. But could that be about to change as Moody takes the opening frame? And we'll be looking now to potentially try and run away with it slightly, if he can, and build up some sort of a gap to leave himself comfortable with. But for now, Mark Williams, of course, is leading Zhang as well here by 1 frame to 0. It's the 6th time those 2 have met in the professional ranking events, with Williams winning 4 of them, Zhang winning, funnily enough, the last 2, with, of course, the other one being a walkover at this very tournament 2 years ago at Wuhan Open there. So there you go, there's your stats. Now the players should be coming back to the table shortly for the action to resume on frame number 2. This time it will be, of course, Mark Williams to have a break off after he's off to a great start himself, already having a break of 74 to his name, which is higher than any of the breaks he's had yesterday against Mark Selby. So taking a risk there with that break off, being really close to the blue there. In the end, comes away with it, and Zhang has only 1 potential long pot chance into the right corner pocket. The problem is for Williams, it's quite a promising one, and if Zhang can get the cue ball past the black there onto the bulk area, these could be a very good chance here for him to get up and running, but refuses it in the end. So it looks like it will be just a safety, with Zhang so far not taking any risks whatsoever in the opening frame and the start of this frame as well. To be fair to him, found a really good safety, forces Williams to potentially try a cross double, which is always going to be difficult from the angle he found himself in. So just evaluating if he has any better options, if he can try and potentially roll up to the reds and try and do something else with them. For now decides to go off the red on the cushion and send it towards the corner pocket there. So attempted a pot there in the end. So clearly feeling like he was going to get away with it, shouldn't miss it. And you have to say he probably did. The only real option that I can see for Zhang is a cut into the left middle, which is going to be far from easy. He has to use the cushion, 1 cushion at least, to land himself on the colour, with I think the prime chance will be the black ball for him. The position does look promising if you can make some slight adjustments to it. But for now, Zhang needs to find himself at least on the start of a break, with him being not doing that at this moment in time in the opening frame. Now has got potential cut here, it would seem. Can he make the way out? Yes, he can. Lands nicely on the blue as well, so could it be a good response here from Zhang after a brilliant campaign in the first frame from Mark Williams? Can it be the turn for the Chinese player to give us a little bit of a side to watch with his break building skills? So for now, a nice little transition from the blue off 2 cushions into another red. I think with the angle he found himself there, it's probably inevitable that he's going to run into the reds, which I don't think you'll mind too much. Just has to make his mind up on which color is he going to try and land. Seems to be forcing his way through the red balls here, which is surprising shot selection to me. Because you are taking the risk with running out of position on the pink quite easily. But it seems like that has worked out for him in a perfect manner, as vast majority of the reds have now been split up. But the question is now, can he get through to the pink? And if he can, he'll be in a really good position. But if he can't, of course, he'll have to either take the black on from not the really most favorable of angles, or find an alternative shot with a potential safety in mind. Does seem like he can get through to that pink. Needs to make sure though he lands it exactly in the pocket, and nice little screw back there. Nicely done once again by Zhang here. 13 points on the board already for him. So, as I say, once again now in prime position to be playing in and around the black spot, with him being freed up nicely after the positional shot of last from Zhang, freeing up all of the reds and making sure the colors are not in a bad position either, especially with the pink and the black having their position compromised in the opening couple of shots. But very much recovered well here, Zhang. And now lands himself on the black. Will probably go into the bunch of reds with a little bit of screw back once again. Has got a nice little angle to do that, but needs to find a cushion to land himself on the red. Does exactly that once again. So one thing, early observation I would say, is both players have been really good in terms of using the other balls to land the cue ball in exact position that they would like it to see. And once again, Zhang here uses the blue ball, once again lands perfectly on it. So we'll have a couple of reds to choose from. I think the sort of easy option in terms of the positional play will be to just stun the cue ball into the position, pretty much the blue, and then just play one of those reds into the left corner. Then you can have a shot selection of either the pink or potentially blue once again. So decides to do that, Zhang there, but chooses the red with more angle, so clearly coming back for the blue there. With one thing you have to consider potentially is the pink might be blocked into that corner pocket, but Zhang there with a little mistake, so shouldn't be too costly for him, but will make the next red a lot more awkward, as he now lands on the wrong side of the blue. Rolls through the cue ball with a little bit of topspin, so in the end doing the right thing and leaving himself with a little bit of a task to do, with the distance between the cue ball and the red ball being slightly more than he would have liked 2 shots ago, but has to deal with it now and probably hold for the black there. Once again, nicely done. Uses the cushion for good measure, and the cue ball was probably just about perfect on the pace. Once again, has got a chance here to go into the reds, and will probably have at least 3 options to his name into both corner pockets and the left middle, should he execute the shot nicely. Once again, doing everything right, but missing all of them. So clearly that was the plan, because the miss was by quite a big margin. So deciding to go for a safe option, not taking any risks there. But the fact that he's actually looking to see if one of the reds below the pink goes seemed to be like it wasn't really the plan when he was playing off the black. So has got a rest shot here they can potentially try and take, with him being 41 points clear. Still not enough to get the frame over the line with still 99 on the table. So still needs around 25-30 points more for him to get the frame ball. But now has to go over the side of the cushion and just roll the red ball in. But the problem once again he has to face is the cue ball is going to be going into the reds and has to try and find some sort of a gap to land on the black there. Does it really nicely. So recovered well there. And this position shot from the black should be the most straightforward of them all, just rolling through. And once again we'll have a selection of either left middle or left corner pocket there. And just to make sure that the black is in though, was only just about in. So now he's on a break of 49, so looking to have a first 50 plus break of his own. With Williams having a break of 74 in the opening frame. Zhang can be on course to beat that. But still hasn't been able to execute this position, which I have to say is not the hardest of them all, but he's had a few struggles. So far he's been able to recover from those struggles. But once again has got not the easiest of all shots. Cutting to the corner as he refuses the shot into the middle. But this time lands really nicely on the pink. So it looked like it's finally fully recovered from the positional inaccuracies of a couple of shots ago. But all of a sudden it misses the pink that I have to say I was watching it quite from behind. And it looked like the table did make it fade in the end. I would have to have a look on the replay. But whatever it was, Williams now comes back to the table with Zhang having exactly a break of 50. Can Williams try and improve on that himself? With him having 6 reds in nice position, with the first one disappearing off into the pocket already. The blue follows up in the left middle there. So yeah, once again, as I say, still has at least 5 more reds to his possession here, Williams, but will probably need the last one that is resting quite close to the pocket, but he's also quite close to the cushion. So it could be awkward to try and cannon or play along the cushion there, but for now needs to deal with the remaining 4 reds and 5 colors. As he make that 4 reds and 4 colors here, as the black disappears into the pocket there. So leaves himself, I should say, with a little bit of an awkward shot. Has to roll through that red and has to bridge over another red of them. Forces through nicely. He's on the black as well. So I think those 3 reds, once this black goes in, could leave him about 4 or 5 points behind Zhang under here. Should he put all of them into the pockets there. And then I don't think he will need the pink that is now resting on the top part of the table on the side cushion. Because the blue should be enough for him to get the frame on the board for himself. Should he put all the reds before that. Now doing everything he can with the black and red transition. Going on quite nicely so far. We'll have to roll through one of the reds once again. So he decides to hit through that one to generate an angle. Of course, wants to land on top of the last red available into play. And then he'll try and do some sort of damage to the red on the right cushion. I think he'll try and probably play in behind it. With the cannon at this point will be too risky. So I has to go back for the blue here, right before the last red. So yeah, clearly the approach there was always going to be playing for that red in behind. It has landed pretty straight on it though, so I think he'll use a lot of screw back here, and needs to make sure, of course, if he is to miss it, he lands the cue ball some sort of safe there. But once again, doing everything he can there, Mark Williams. And doing everything right there. So 5 pots away here from securing the opening frame, and all of a sudden he's missed an absolute sitter of a blue. I mean, what on earth was he doing there? clearly focusing on the yellow positioning too much, and in the end, the blue stays out, and all of a sudden, it is a prime chance here for Zhang under to take control of the second frame. The potting machine versus the leaping dragon, who will win? If you ask me, I think the potting machine will win, but needs to make sure he eliminates those type of errors. As you know, Zhang will surely punish him for that. Now 10 points clear with the brown and blue still into play. That's all he needs to get himself a frame on the board. And what looked like it was going to be a 2-0 lead for Mark Williams just a couple of shirts ago, it is now going to be a 1-0 draw here after the first 2 frames, as Zhang just checking there that he won't need the pink. And the frame ball is in, so the Chinese crowd will very much enjoy that, and I think they'll have their part to play in this match as well. Is there any way we can watch this match? Yes, so you could double check, depends on your location, but you should watch it on the WST Snooker app, and if you are in the UK, you can check it out on TNT Sports 2 or Discovery Plus channel. Depends on which matches you want to watch there, but for now, in the table 1 here, in the first quarterfinal, it is Williams 1, Jaganda 1 as well. Not in this frame, it looks like. Yeah, it'll be... I mean, it should have been. It should have surely been a frame for Williams, but I don't know what he was thinking when he was playing that blue. Clearly just focusing on landing perfectly on the yellow and missing an absolute sitter of a blue there. The Q-Force was with the other taxi driver. Well, certainly. I mean, it was. I know that's Gary Wilson now from the knowledge of yours, but we'll see. We'll see. Gary Wilson will feature a little bit later today, as he has his match against John Higgins. So certainly looking forward to that one. As I think Higgins will punish Wilson if he's going to play the same way he's played against Trump, which I do actually believe that Trump could have easily won the match against Wilson had he been more careful and made a lot more out of those chances, which, you know, Williams has given him so many chances, and especially the later stages of the match. But Trump wasn't just able to get on top of those, and in the end, losing that match by 5 frames to 4. As now Stan Moody and Zhao Gron now are pretty much even on points, with Moody leading 22-20 in the second frame, after Stan has managed to get the opening frame on his score sheet. Gudon is now looking to be on the break himself now, and he tries to get the second frame to his name and try and potentially do something about the form that Stan Moody has been able to show so far, which has been, you have to say, made him one of the favourites for the tournament, with him reaching the quarterfinal stage, and with the semi-final very much on the cusp there for him. Should it beat Zhao Gudon, it's only 4 frames from doing that. He, of course, will face the winner of this match, being either Mark Williams or Zhang Anda, with it being 1 frame each for now. And it'll be Anda's turn now to break off for frame number 3. There we go. And he's ready now to get the third frame underway. This is from the left side of the table, and does it actually really nicely with the cue ball positioned dead on the cushion there. The blue ball will be in the way of a couple of reds, and potentially I think Williams will consider to just roll onto the bunch and try and make sure he doesn't leave anything easy, but needs to miss the pink here. It's going to be really, really close there. And there you go. Nicely done in the end. So it was quite close for comfort there for Williams, but in the end gets away with it. And I think Zhang has a touching ball there called by the referee. So plays it away there of 2, maybe 3 cushions, but seems to be short of pace there, the cue ball. Zhang won't be too amazed with what he's done there, leaving Williams a straightforward safety shot to play himself. And once again, Williams there with a really nice safety shot of his, responding well after potential loss of momentum there from Zhang. And it's now the Chinese world number 12 that has to potentially try and roll up to the bunch. And himself needs to be careful of missing the ping, but also judging the pace perfectly. Seems to be pacey, the cue ball, but in the end wasn't really anything he could have landed on. And Williams once again will just play off into the bulk area, but catches the ping there in a fashion that he won't really like, as he pots the ping, I should say, as well. So not too sure what the thinking was there for Williams. Obviously trying to, get as much angle on the red as possible. In the end, hasn't done him too much of a favor, but hasn't done him too much of a damage either, as this position is not really worth giving up there for Zhang. And just a nice little safety there for him. So Zhang there will have a look towards the sort of diagonal shot of a long pot. Depends if the blue is in the way for that. Should he put it, of course, he'll be in a really good position. Should he land on the black as well. Seems to be lining a long pot here and makes it really brilliantly there. So a good start here from Zhang. That was a bit shaky in the second frame, but was able to get it over the line. And in the end, it is now Zhang under on the break of his own. Lands on the black with an angle straight away to be going into the bunch of reds. Hasn't really got too many of them to land on, so has to try and develop them. He has done so, but I don't think he's landed on any of them in any sort of pocket. We'll have to see if the right middle is available to him, with one of the reds seems to be quite close to be on the trajectory line for him to see. But apart from that, looks like it'll just be another safety shot. He's done there, to be fair, from the position that it was. The reds have now been spread up really nicely. But the question for him is, can he try and take advantage of it? It does seem to be going for this red. The problem is, of course, he can be using it for a safety as well. And he's gone for a pot there. But not too sure why he played with so much pace. Obviously, maybe he was trying to just go towards the bulk area. But whatever it was, it's 4 points to his opponent. And it's a red that disappears off into the distance here. And Williams will have a straightforward introduction into the frame himself, as he tries to land on the blue here. So nicely done there once again with the red in, and him ending up on the top side of the blue. So Zhang now leads by only 14 points to 5. Not going to be good enough with Williams at the table. With already 10 point score there for him. But once again, I think the most frustrating thing for Anda will be is, he's done so well from that positional shot from the black to split up the reds. He was unlucky to not end up on one perfectly. And then, of course, having potted the next red with the cue ball going into the pocket, it is now presented Mark Williams with a chance. And already scoring more than his opponent with 17 points. Once again, nicely on the red. And I think he'll be playing in and around the pink spot for a while, with the majority of the reds being still in need of some development. But, of course, it's a lot better than it was before that positional shot from Zhang after black. Williams still has a couple of shots into the left middle to try and make use of. And should he run out of those, I think he'll just transition himself onto the black spot and trying to be playing alongside the prime position in terms of break building for the top 16 players. Decides to go that now, with leaving one red quite close to the middle there. And certainly we'll be aiming towards these three reds there, being quite close to each other, once again developing one of them nicely and freeing up all three of them. So a break of 28 now already, with still an awful lot of points on the table. With him having 40 points here potentially should the black disappear. And just having a look at which red to land on next. And does everything right there. Once again going onto the top side, so taking out that red that he left previously for one of those positions. They'll free up a lot more space to be landing on the pink. And Williams from there should be able to close off the opening frame, as now he has to get a little bit of an awkward shot. Has to bridge over a red. Generates a lot of power on that red. In the end, comes away unscathed there. Leading by 27 points already. Still has 2-3 reds that he can easily land onto the left side, with once again developing the positions even better for himself. Threatening another 50+ break, which so far we've seen in every single one of those frames, you know, all of them being held in quite attacking fashion. As the first 45 minutes of the match come to an end. So the black for the 52 break, and there you go, there's another break of 50+. We've seen each of those in the, one of those in each of those frames. And now Williams has shot into the middle, similar shot that Ander has missed in his campaign against Moody. Could have been costly for him, but in the end, not in the Moody, against Aaron Hill, I should say, but in the end, Irishman wasn't able to punish him, as Ander was able to get through that match and that frame. Williams here lands awkwardly on the blue and decides to go for the yellow. Not too sure that was the right shot to play, with him catching the blue on the way back. Now has found himself with a tough angle on this red. You know, I think he'll generate a lot of power on the cue ball just to make sure it lands somewhere safe in the bulk area, to give himself a chance of continuing the break, but also not leaving something easy for his opponent. So believes in himself there, Williams, and decides not to do that and just land nicely on the blue and be within a couple of shots away here from the frame ball. Of course, the next red will put him 52 ahead, with 51 on the table should the blue disappear off into the pocket, but he just seems to be going for the yellow once again, so trying to find some sort of angle to land on the reds. Taking the risk there to an extent, you know, sacrificing 3 more points that he could have had with a lot more ease, and hasn't really got anywhere near one of those reds, and it looks like it'll be just a safety shot played. With the angle of the aim clearly being the sign for it. But in the end, a good safety. So a break of 58 is all Williams could manage. Now leads by 48 points, with still 59 on the table. So Zhang is hanging on in this frame, but he's not out of this yet. Williams, I think, will probably be disappointed with what he's got out of this position. You know, the only 2 real sort of difficulties that he had, he wasn't managed to develop into the points for him. And as I say, I'm not too sure that yellow coal instead of the blue, as Zhang finds a really good safety once again. Yeah, that yellow ball instead of the blue ball is going to cost him 3 points, and with him being 48 ahead, could have been 51, with the black not being in the best position, you know, one of the reds being on the cushion there, and him giving 4 points now to his opponent with a weird safety shot attempt. Got that one way too thin. And in the end, gives the ball in hand and 4 points to his opponent. So Zhang, I think, will line up a long shot here. That will give him a chance to line on the black there. Depends on what sort of angle you generate. You can always try and So screw back for the blue. Leave himself with the best possible angle here. Taking his time there, Zhang. Important shot this is for the third frame. Of course, should he make it, it'll be a really interesting end of it. And he does indeed make it. So a perfect shot there from Zhang. Doesn't seem to be too happy with the way cue ball has landed on the black there, with it being probably just about too straight. Now hasn't done enough cue action, it would seem. Now trails by 43 points. Looking to make that 36 with his black disappearing. So it's not going to be an issue in terms of points now, especially with Williams gifting him 4 of those. But it'll be an issue of getting onto the next red from this black. He has uses the jaws of the pocket there, and a really good attempt there, you have to say. Clever shot there from Zhang. And he's just about alright on this red. Don't think he'll be playing for the black this time though, so clearly will be playing for either the blue or one of the bold colours. But the fact that he's still in this break and is still in here with a chance in the third frame, as Williams is unable to get over the line with it from the first time of asking. Could Zhang try and punish him for it? Now has 27 points to his name. So it will indeed be the blue. I think he will aim this time around for the position on the red into the left middle. The question is, has he got enough of an angle of it? Or does he need one of the bold colours for a better angle for that? Yeah, just have a little look if he can try and roll that one into the sort of the corner pocket, and once again just checking the scoreboard, making sure he can afford to be taking any of the colours. He seems to be going for the green here. A lot of topspin, so clearly trying to land in behind that red. And yeah, I have to say, was a little bit surprised of him not using any of the right spin. In the end, ran out of position there, unless he can try and see anything into the corner pocket, but no, there you go, straight away refuses the pot, and just a safety shot here, and all to play for in the deciding part here of the third frame. Zhang will now look to find himself in the best possible scenario. Doesn't want the red to be on the cushion, to be fair, but probably will have to sacrifice the positional sense of the reds just to land a good safety here and put Williams into a little bit of trouble. But to be fair to Zhang, he always knew that for Williams to have a decent safety, you'll have to put one of those in play. There's a smart shot there from Williams, clearly aiming for the black to be put out of position, and leaving the long pot potentially here for Zhang, but we need the last block there, and with the black being now on the left side cushion, it's not going to be the easiest of pots should he reach that stage. For now, has got a pretty difficult long pot with a couple of colours to try and potentially land on. Would like to stay on the bottom part of the table for the pink or the blue. Has to make the red first, and does indeed. How's his positioning on the colours? Not great. Not great, to be honest. So the pink is easier of a pot, but I think you'll have to take blue just for a chance to land on that red. Using the top bold cushion there, as I think he would have liked to see the cue ball travel a little bit further, give himself a lot more chance in it. And it seemed like the cue ball is going to travel way too far here and land on top of at the bottom of the pink and on top of the red there. But once again, Zhang will have to see what his options are and play a safety shot of one way, shape or form, with no chance of a potential pot success to be improved even more, as it is the end of a break here for Zhang Anda. And needs to put Mark Williams into some sort of pressure with, you know, the ping being quite close to the cue ball. Needs to try and potentially land the cue ball in behind that pink and send the red ball on towards that pink spot there and try to do exactly that, but a weird shot once again there from Zhang, and all of a sudden Williams has got a red here that will be a frame ball in one sense, with it being 27 points ahead already should he pot it. And the next colour will make sure that he is the winner of the third frame here, Mark Williams. Really surprised to see that safety shot. That was a cheap safety shot chance there for Zhang. To be wasted so badly. All Williams needs now is to land on the colour. And he probably just about has. Got a little bit lucky after that good red, but probably deserved to be. Now he's on the blue into the yellow pocket. So can try and potentially snooker Zhang here if he's not sure of, taking this blue on. But I think for his side of things, he will want to do all the damage himself. But decides against that in the end. So just a snooker here and 1 point score here for Williams. So Zhang could still here tie. Could still tie here. But 2 cushions escape for now from a snooker. With Williams making sure that 1 cushion escape is not available for him. So covering up of the left side cushion escape route there for him. And Zhang potentially considering just 1 cushion escape there. With the yellow going quite close to its own pocket. Will be a risk shot for that to Zhang to take on. But of course with the position he's in, it's not like he can dominate the remaining of this frame anyway. So goes for a hidden hope, misses it. Can he catch it on the way back though? Ooh, just about misses, and there'll probably be frame here to Williams. And it's certainly 4 points. 4 points here for Williams. Now has a straightforward yellow into the green pocket. And that will surely put an end to this frame. And give Williams a lead once again of 2 frames to 1. Once again, gets the yellow in, gets the green as well. So scored 70 points, 72 points already. In comparison to Zhang's 41. So running away with it in the deciding part of the third frame. Try and potentially go for a total clearance. Let's see if he's gonna try and play the black there. As he now nicely on the pink there. Tries to develop the black actually. And in the end not bothering with it. As he comes over the pocket. And he's now, the break ends here for Mark Williams on 20. And he's now taken the third frame as well to his name. So leads now by 2 frames to 1. As we're going to have the fourth and the final frame of the first mini session. Before the players go for a mid-session interval there. And on the other table, the third frame has just finished with Zhang taking the lead once again, having a really clean and a break to nil there in that frame of 87. Now leads by 2 frames to 1 there, Zhang Moody. To Stan Moody there. And Zhang now and Mark Williams are only 3 frames away from the semi-final spot, with Zhang Anda and Stan Moody being the 2 players that have to do all the catching up to try and do to get themselves back in those respectful matches. And of course, for the afternoon session, we will have John Higgins against Gary Wilson there, with the world number 18 knocking out the world number 1, Judd Trump. And Mark Allen against Si Jiahui. Another brilliant match, which I think will be on Discovery Plus there for you to try and potentially watch. The match that could very well go into the decider, especially with the way those 2 have been playing in this campaign. Both of them not really going any further than 5 or 6 or 7 frames there, with the only decider those 2 had to face was, of course, Mark Allen against Saint Vafei. In the end, the Northern Ireland player coming out on top in that battle. As we wait for the players here to come back to table 1 and resume the action. After 2 really quick frames, the third one was a little bit of a more scrappy one, with the players not being able to take every single one of their chances. In the end, Williams just comes the better of the two. And Zhang now has to try and get himself back level in the last frame of the mini session. But won't be easy this, as he's up against one of the very best here in the world, number 5, the last year's World Championship finalist. The potting machine, Mark Williams, is now going to break off for frame number 4. And does it nicely in terms of the reds. And once again, landing in behind the green, so putting Zhang on the back foot, I should say, straight away. Now, what can he do from here, Zhang Anda? Is to just roll up to those reds. Be careful with the pink there, and in the end, judges the pace really well. Doesn't seem like it's a touching ball, so Williams won't have a free safety shot to his name. Still won't have any massive difficulties here, it would seem. I'm just looking to play away from the red there. And decides against it in the end, so just rolls up a little bit closer to the pink. Allows Zhang to try and do that himself, with just catching the thinnest of edges of the red there and putting the cue ball onto the black ball area. Let's see if he can do that here. As I'm not too sure if he's asking for the referee to call a foul there, as Zhang doesn't seem to catch one of the reds, so good sportsmanship there. And once again, Williams asks Zhang to play the next shot as well, which he does. And it's now Williams back to the table after having 4 points to his name. This time he's able to play away there from the bunch, allow the cue ball nicely onto the ball cushion. Leave Zhang with a difficult shot there to deal with in terms of the safety, with the red going into the bunch of reds. Has to judge the pace really well here to make sure none of the reds go over the pocket, and hasn't really done that, and he's left Williams with a chance. I did say that in before the safety. It wasn't a straightforward one, but you know, he had to catch the red really thin there. Didn't manage to do that, and Williams is in with a chance, but horrible shot there from Williams. Misses that red by a mile, which looked like it was harder to miss than to actually go on pot there. Doesn't leave Zhang with anything straightforward. Potential plant eyed up into the right corner pocket, but with too much distance between the balls and the cue ball going into the reds, I think it'll probably just be another sequence of safeties. Zhang has got a couple of shots to choose from. Goes for a really nice 4 cushion shot there. In the end, just lands on 3 cushions and doesn't quite reach the ball cushion there, but still really good safety for him, especially in the position that he found himself in. Quite awkward to find a decent safety, but Williams has got a little bit of awkwardness to himself now, as probably once again will have to play into the bunch from the left side cushion, but they're just having a look if he can give away any easy reds there to Zhang, which in fairness to both players, neither of them have really done so far. Throughout the opening 3 frames, it was more of, you know, the players running out of position and giving away straightforward shots to the middle, but in the end, Williams finds a really good shot, and will just carefully lead the cue ball back onto the bulk area with potentially one of the bulk colours in its way, but catches the brown right in the face there. So putting himself on the back foot, it would seem slightly, with Williams having one of the reds on the left hand side to try and easily deal with. Not going to give up anything in terms of the reds, and has got a bonus of the cue ball going towards the brown and the green area, but can see a gap there, Zhang, but the problem for him is you can't really see a gap there that he can try and play a safety off. So I do have a feeling he will potentially either have to roll up to these reds or try and find an alternative route to potentially be playing off the cushion there. So far, nothing he can do from here. And the referee there just checking the position of the cue ball, should it be going back exactly where it is right now, in case of Zhang missing this particular shot. And Mark will just be waiting in his chair, probably quite happy with the safety he just played. And once again, a really important frame for either 3-1 lead for Williams and a serious cushion, quite close to the semi-final spot, or it potentially being all square once again, with the Zhang leveling things up. But for now, has gone for quite a risky shot there. Could have easily gave up something for Williams, but in the end, looks like he hasn't, unless one of those reds is cuttable into the left corner pocket, well, the right corner pocket, I should say. We should find out shortly, as Williams does go for it, but in the end misses it and gives away a chance here to Zhang. So we're way into this frame and into the match, it would seem, as the position once again looks really, really promising for whichever player has a chance of a break. And after Williams not taking his, it is now Zhang that has it all to do in this position. So the first couple of shots will be tricky with him going onto one of those reds from the black spot there. Can try and cannon the red slightly, develop the two of them just above the black, and hopefully for himself line one up into the corner pocket. Doesn't do that too well, to be fair, and lands awkwardly on one of those reds. So unless he decides to take an aggressive shot into the yellow pocket, it would seem like the end of a break. He's looking to it though, so maybe he'll just try and add a little bit more screw back and land on the black comfortably, with the only red being in danger of giving away will be the one he actually tries and pot. And quite close there, but in the end just missing. Was nicely on the black after it. Could have been a nice little break there for Zhang, but not to be. And Williams now himself has got a pot that I think Zhang was sort of reluctant to try and give away to him, but in the end just not screwing back enough there on the cue ball and giving Williams a chance. A chance straight away, you would seem, comes to nothing, as Williams now has a break of one and has a really tough ping to try and play into the yellow pocket. A middle range shot, but the cue ball being quite close to the cushion, so it goes for the yellow instead, and was actually closer to the green pocket there than the yellow pocket, the one they actually intended to pot it in. In the end, the yellow ball stays out, and the catalogue of errors there from both players, with I think it being the case of position not being the kindest to either of them, but also neither of them have been able to take their chances in frame number 4. And it's Zhang Anda that comes to the table once again with his chance, at least the third one he's already had in the frame number 4. He's got a difficult cut to try and manage into the yellow pocket, and misses that again. Is the blue ball going to come to his rescue though? That'll be interesting to see, as seems to be right on the way there. So Williams will be potentially forced to try and swerve around it. There's no way in the world you can leave that hanging over the pocket, no matter how good of a safety you play. And a brilliant shot there with the swerve from Williams. Deserved a little bit of luck to land on a blue ball. And now, after Zhang hasn't taken his third chance, it is now a second chance here for Mark Williams. The position once again being better and better with each of those chances wasted, as the reds disappear into the pockets with the colours not being followed up. And, all of a sudden there's less and less reds for you to try main at, and less reds to be blocking each other. As now we have the joint highest break of the frame, with it being 7 by Williams. Looking to double the points tally with the naked black. Making 14 and 19 points scored. And yeah, in a really healthy position now for a potential 3-1 lead ahead of the mid-session interval. As he takes another look to another couple of these reds. And Zhang good on there with pretty much a flawless start. And he's going to have a 3-1 cushion himself there against Stan Moody going into the first session interval of 15 minutes. Williams there getting rid of early 3 reds, and now has got a couple of reds to go into. Does it really nicely, gives himself a couple of options to try and play from here. Now already 19 points clear, with more than 100 on the table though. So needs to accumulate plenty of those. But the position right now being really, really kind to him. And looking like he could well be one of those frame winning chances in the single visit to the table. As he now goes into 35 points, still has got a lot of reds to try and potentially land on, with the 2 being next to each other, probably blocking each other's way, being the only 2 that you will have to develop in some way, shape or form. And does exactly that of the following red. And now has got 6 reds, 6 easy reds I would say, to try and deal with as another black goes in. So 43 points for him scored, 38 on the table, on the break I should say, with 91 on the table, leaving that with only 83 with another red disappearing. So yeah, in prime position here, Williams to take control over this match once again and put himself for the first time in the match with a 2-frame cushion. Of course, leading by 1 frame to 0 previously, Zhang was able to level up the scoreline at that time of asking. And will be a miracle if he does it again here, because Williams has got only 4 more reds, and I don't even think he'll need all 4 of them, with him already being 44 points clear. Nicely on the black, so hasn't found himself on an angle, but still has a comfortable pot into the middle, and a couple of reds to choose from, as I think he'll be rolling either to the blue or the pink, with them 2 being quite close to each other. Looks like it'll be the pink to go back on his spot, and Williams to line up a shot into the left corner pocket there. Would have liked the cue ball to travel a little bit more, find himself quite close to the cushion. But to be fair, he has to just roll through this one and leave Zhang with only a chance to tie in this frame. With the next colour being a comfortable frame ball, and will leave Zhang with needing at least 2 snookers. With there being quite a formality at this stage, as it's clearly Williams' frame. He still has 2 easy reds to try and deal with, until he can sort of think about doing something about the remaining 2 if he is to make a century break. For now, getting rid of the 2 in the open play, having a 76 points break already, so the highest of the frame and the highest of the match, of course, for each of the player, beating the previous highest of Williams, 74. Now once again nicely on the pink there, so didn't really care massively about lining one up for the red. Now has got 1 into the pocket, which he just about misses. So 83 break will do nicely there for Williams, as we'll be back in 15 minutes time for some more action, as it is Mark Williams leading Zhang by 3 frames to 1. Same scoreline as in Zhao Gudun match against Stan Moody, with the Chinese player dominating there. As I say, we'll be back with some more action after the mid-session interval, and will it be Zhang trying to get himself back in this match, or is Mark Williams gonna run away with it? Williams is firmly in control, he certainly is, and let's see if that will remain to be the case in 15 minutes time. Stay tuned in. Right, so then, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the mini session number 2 as the intermission in the match of Mark Williams and Zhang has come to an end, and it will be the Chinese player to break off in frame number 5, and a frame he must win to stay in contention for this match and not let the potting machine run away with it there. Starts off with a decent break. Williams has got a red along the cushion that he can try and potentially play, but with a couple of reds along the position of the black, I think he will refuse that one right now. And just try and potentially roll it up to the pocket and leave the white very close to the jaws of the pocket there. So goes against that, so tries to force some sort of angle there on the cue ball. And in the end, lands really nicely on the blue, but misses the pot there. So leaves Zhang with a chance. After, you could say, taking the bait there from Zhang, you know. Don't think he was purposeful that he left that red along the cushion, but either way, he got himself a chance to find a way back in this match. For now, needs to take not the easiest of reds into the left corner, and he does. So he's off to a great start here, Zhang. We'll probably need a frame or two here to make sure that frame Williams is not, you know, only one frame away from the semi-final spots. For now, has to focus on the positional shots on this yellow. And already 3 points now accumulated for him. And straight away he's off onto the black spot. Has got a couple of reds to choose from. The black very much goes to either of the corner pockets. So looking like a good break opportunity here for Zhang. At the early stage here of frame number 5. He has been playing decent so far, Zhang, but just not been able to be clinical the chances. And remember, really, if you think about it, him losing the 3 frames that he did, the one frame that he actually won came from a massive mistake and a massive blunder from Mark Williams late into the second frame, with Zhang there just picking up the pieces and making Williams pay for it in the end. He needs to try and make the most out of the break building opportunities he gets now. As you sort of see him in and around the black spot once again, already 12 points, looking to make that 19 with a black. And nice screw back there on the red. So can get at least 40 points, maybe even more than that. Here Zhang, maybe around 50, with still almost 4 reds in open play. With the last one near the black spot taken by Zhang there, so 20 points scored for him already. There might be a few more there that he can try and take away from the bunch, from the bottom of that bunch. As he aims there for one of them potentially has got a backup into the middle pocket, but lands, I would say, exactly in between them. Still is very much manageable here, as he doesn't have to necessarily hold so much for the blue there. I think he can just play the cue ball with a touch there of backspin and land himself on the pink into the middle, which is exactly what he does. He needs to make sure he's got the pot though, and he hasn't. He's missed that one by a long way, and Williams is back in this frame. After Zhang unable to do damage to him from his first time of asking. And could Williams be running away with it? You know, he's won 2 frames on the bounce. Very much before the break, it looked like Zhang came back after the interval fresh, but he still came back fresh with those mistakes. You know, none of them really being unforced. And just running out of position to an extent and leaving himself with a difficult pot. In the end, not being able to take it. And it's now Williams on the break. Hasn't got so much of a good position. Of course, he hasn't got the 27 points cushion that Zhang has to his name. Only has a couple of more reds in open play before he has to make something with the bunch and develop it to a certain extent. needs to deal with those ones first and put himself pretty much equal on points tally. And having a massive advantage of actually being at the table and being on the break there, Mark Williams. Just checking if there is any more reds that he can try and get to until he has to go heavily into the bunch. The answer to that question is probably no, as he just decides to settle for the pink this moment in time and leave himself with the last of the available reds, and then probably go back for the blue there. One of the reds right underneath the pink spot might be going into the corner pocket as well, so we'll give 6-7 points potentially to Williams there, as he now is looking to get himself ahead in this frame. But with the shot he's played there, it looks like he'll be very much going into the bunch here, looking to put himself 2 points clear with the black disappearing. Does indeed go into the bunch, but doesn't necessarily get the cannon and the kiss that he would have liked. Lands awkwardly into one of the reds into the corner. And we'll try and probably hold for one of the ball colours. So indeed goes for a safer option, so just a safety there. Williams not rushing things, as you can see he's clearly letting his opponent know that he's not in a hurry. And if he has to do it the hard way through the safety game, he will do. So far he's been able to do that with 1 foot on the pedal, I would say. You know, still staying in the third gear. Zhang hasn't been able to get even to the third gear of his own here so far. Is could be lining up a potential long pot. But the thing for him to keep in mind is the position is a lot more open than it was. And any sort of kind of mistake here will be certainly punishable by your opponent. And there's your mistake that I was talking about. Zhang catches the red way too thin, and the cue ball catches another red on the cushion, and has left Williams with an easy chance. So there you go. Patience paying off there for Williams, you know, just taking that one extra shot there in terms of the safety play, and he's got himself another chance. That the first shot of this chance hasn't really been kind to him, as he lands on the wrong side of the blue there, so probably a little bit of a screw back and then a red shot into the corner pocket. Pretty straight on it, so shouldn't be too difficult. The angle is not going to be the worst enemy of Williams here, as he grabs the extension there. Surely will go for the rest as well. Tries to do without it though, as we'll be playing of course for the blue. Well, in my view, he was going to play for the blue, as I don't really see what he's going to land on as he goes for the black here. So it will be really interesting to see what his next shot selection is going to be, as I thought he was going to land on the top side of the blue to try and cannon into the bunch. He's got something else in his mind, and we're about to find out what that something else actually is, as he goes for the red there. And yeah, as I say, I wasn't really too sure what he was playing there, so just tried to go into the reds, and has clearly messed his position up there. So ahead by 16 points, still 67 on the table, and just looking for the right safety to play here. And Zhang will find himself coming back to the table once again here in frame number 5, as he seems to be hanging on in this match, only just about though. And you certainly feel like the next chance he gives away to Williams will be the most punishable of all. For now, Williams, with a decent safety shot, rolls the cue ball onto the black ball area, finds himself 16 points clear. And Zhang will now see if he can get to the red on the left-hand side and potentially try and push that one into the bulk area, leave the cue ball nicely and firmly on the black ball cushion there. Taking his time there on the shot, which, you know, is probably a concerning thing for him, as it looked like it was going to be a straightforward safety. And let's see what he's got here, because he's not applying the backspin there, so clearly going for something. And he's actually tried to go for the pot there into the middle. And yeah, doing way too many things you know, under pressure. Zhang and doing way too many of them in a bad way, leaving Williams with a chance into the yellow pocket. So it is a long shot. Wouldn't say it's a guarantee by any stretch of imagination. But even if it's not a guarantee, Mark Williams will certainly take it, as this match has already shown us to an extent. And now Zhang has to find himself spending more time on his chair, as Williams has the brown to try and come back to the lower side of the table. As I say, I did very much feel like he wasn't going to mess around for much longer there, Mark Williams, just taking the right approach there, and twice he had a chance to sort of go for a risky red. Decided to play a strong safety to put him in prime position for the next couple of shots. And each time of those, Zhang has missed the following shot and has left Williams with a much better chance than the previous one he had. Now still some work to do for him, as he lands pretty straight on the black. Hasn't got too much of an angle on the pink either. We'll still need one, maybe two reds there of the remaining three on the table. Of course, we won't need any of the 6 colors remaining. So just looking now to see if he can develop the bunch slightly there from the pink. So misses it in the end, but I'm pretty sure the red that is closest to the left cushion of the 3 of them is still potable. It's just getting on the next color is going to be a little bit of a issue for Williams, as he finds himself 28 points clear. So with 43 on the table, so we'll need a red, a color, and another red there to put himself within 1 frame away of reaching the semi-finals for the first time this season. After already having a really successful campaign here in China Wuhan Open ahead of the China Grand Prix. Another player that has spoken very positively ahead of that tournament, saying he's very much looking forward to coming back to there again. Now there has got a difficult frame ball into the green pocket. Can try and potentially just screw back slightly for the black to make sure, you know, he's going to be safe in some way there, but doesn't have to be, as he comfortably puts that red into the green pocket. So the frame ball is gone. Still has a black potentially into the middle to make sure Zhang will be coming back to the table. Looks like he's GG's in this rate. Yep, certainly frame ball is in. And Williams now will just see if he can put this black into the middle and make sure Zhang won't be returning to the table once again, but decides to go against it. So just a safety there, putting the yellow on the cushion and trying to snooker Zhang there. Clever shot. And once again, Zhang for now only needs 1 snooker, but he finds himself needing to escape one here. Goes for the 2 cushion escape there, off the left side and the bottom black cushion there. Put some pause on that shot. And tries to put some distance between the cue ball and the red ball there. In the end, puts the red ball pretty safe. Williams, I think, will play a cross double off that, or maybe just full it in the face and try and finish up with the cue ball in behind the black. Can't quite make that. And Zhang will have a potential long pot chance. I think the one that he will refuse because of the inability to get on the black easily, with the pink being out of position, as is the yellow. The remaining 4 colors are on their spots, but remember, Zhang, if he is to come back into this frame, will need all of the colors, and we'll have to find a snooker for good measure as well. So just rolls up to that red, tries to get the cue ball somewhere close to the pink, but no angle on that one at all. And the straightforward safety here for Williams, that can himself now try and do something about that pink situation. Does that well. Zhang finds himself snookered now. So going to be playing right into the cushion, quite close to the cue ball. Always difficult to judge exactly where the cue ball is going to land. and has got a backup of a second cushion coming up for him potentially, and set himself up that Zhang. Yeah, exactly, but he managed to recover. Managed to recover though. The cue ball has landed pretty safe there. So Williams will have to find another safety here. He's once again just looking to end that cue ball in behind the black. But actually his red positioning was a lot better there. And once again finds Zhang that is the man. He's snookered now. And the Chinese world number 12 has to find himself trying to escape a snooker once again, as he's the one that's supposed to be, you know, doing that to Williams. So far has found himself on the receiving end of that. Trailing by 37 points with only 35 on the table, and this looks like it could be the end, with the red being very much close to the white there. Williams can try and potentially roll this one into the middle and put the cue ball somewhere safe in and around the yellow spot there. Goes against that, tries to lay a snooker off of his own, and does it brilliantly there. So once again, it's 3 snookers in a row there from Williams. And very much finding his groove there, Welshman, and not giving his Chinese opponent any sort of chance, not just in this frame, but in plenty of those before. The positive thing for Zhang was the red was quite close to the cushion, so it wasn't too difficult to catch it. Still done well though. And Williams finds himself with a lot of distance between the cue ball and the red ball once again. Tough snooker. I think it was tough in terms of the cue ball positioning. I think it was relatively easy in terms of where the red was. It was always going to try and go off 2 cushion, potentially 1 cushion, depends on which angle it was going to land. So a lot of balls to aim at there for Zhang, but still has done well to stay in this frame. And for the first time in 4 shots, finds himself not needing to find an escape from a snooker. So just a safety shot from him. He can turn into a potential snooker attempt. Needs the red ball run though, and I don't think he's run enough. And even if he has, should be a straightforward serve there for Williams. And catches it nicely. Once again, puts some sort of distance between the cue ball and the red ball there for Zhang to try and make usage of. I think from this position the cue ball will be very much going towards the green and pink area, next to the green pocket, with the red resting quite close to the black, as I would imagine. And let's see how Zhang sees it. So decides to go for, I think he was trying to use the green as the ball in between the cue ball and the red, but hasn't managed to get anywhere near that. Williams once again with a chance to put the frame to bed. Misses that shot though, and Zhang is still in this after, you know, Williams had a couple of chances to put the game to bed. Still hanging on here, Zhang under there, but once again just doesn't need the red to be potted just yet, but needs to start fighting snookers that sort of put Williams into some sort of trouble. So far it was the Welshman that was doing that, but this trajectory from the cue ball is better. Needs to pull up though, and just about missed it there. And with those snooker attempts, the problem is you're always certainly, if you don't make a snooker, you're going to leave Williams with a chance to pot it. Once again, it's a chance not taken, but the cue ball line is good. Once again, in behind the yellow. Gets lucky to a certain extent there with a kiss. And Zhang hasn't got anything straightforward, if you can see that red at all, which I don't think is available as an option for him. So has to go off the cushion. Needs to make sure he catches the full ball there. Got it off the edge. Cue ball is going to be safe there, and the red has come in safe as well for him. The cue ball actually rolling up in behind the yellow of one way, shape or form. And yeah, it's going to be hard to serve here for Williams. Let's see what he can do here. Needs to find some sort of angle, and he has overdone it there. So all of a sudden, Zhang can win this frame. You know, he only needed one snooker, and he found it there, probably not intentional, but it was a response to a fluke of a snooker by Williams, so I think it's only fair. And Williams should have done better with a swerve there, potentially took a little more time on the shot. And all of a sudden, Zhang doesn't need to be laying off any more snookers. He just needs to land himself with a nice position on the red. Too much swerve, way too much swerve there, and a chance here for Zhang that he probably should have never been presented with by Williams, but still has a pink in a difficult position. A transition onto the black is going to be difficult should he get to that stage of the frame. Williams for now has to find some sort of security for himself and a safety shot, and certainly been able to do that in the last couple of attempts. Once again finds a good safety himself. Not too sure if Zhang can see the right part of the red ball there, but even if he can, don't think he'll be playing it, because it will be really easy for him to just leave the cue ball in the green pocket and go in off the red there. So yeah, probably has to judge the right bounce off the cushion and potentially try and use that to have the cue ball potentially land in behind the green, with the red ball going further down towards the black ball area. Needs to judge the pace of that perfectly, and needs to judge the kiss on that red perfectly, and hasn't been able to do any of that. The pace was probably a bit too much anyway, and the touch wasn't good either. Williams now has a chance, a straightforward cut into the middle to put the frame to bed finally. From the third time of asking, he certainly does that. Leaves Zhang with leading at least 2 snookers. As the brown disappears into the cushion as well, now finds himself 11 points clear of any sort of danger, with 38 points being the gap. And finds a really good yellow there as well. So these frames certainly over, and Williams will just get a little more of table time ahead of the frame number 6, which could still prove to be the final one in this match, because that's the only one Williams will need to book himself as the first semi-finalist here. Now is GG's low. Well, it certainly is now. Stan Moody there hanging on to Zhang with all 6 colours being on the table, and Moody trailing by 23 points, so only just can tie at that moment in time. Needs to make sure Zhang doesn't get anywhere near putting any of them to have a chance of a 4-1 lead himself there. But for now though, in this match, it is Mark Williams with a 4-1 lead over Zhang Anda, and only 1 frame away. And if you can make it 4 in a row, you will be off to a great start here of the late campaign, after, you know, having go through a difficult match with Mark Selby, winning that one with 5-3. He can be winning this frame and this match with a scoreline of 5 frames to 1. Still needs to find one more piece of that jigsaw, and he'll be off to the semi-final here in Wuhan Open. Zhang has indeed managed to get himself 25 points clear, with 25 on the table, so just the green ball needed for him to have a 4-1 lead over Stan Moody. So both quarterfinalists so far being played with some distance between the 2 players. So Moody will have to find some sort of answer if he can, and if he obviously can't, he will have to just settle for the quarterfinal exit there at the end of his campaign. Still going to be better than you know, some of the starts to the season that he's had, but it's certainly frame number 5 that goes to Zhang there. So 4-1 lead there for the Chinese player, and 4-1 deficit here for the Chinese world number 12, as he now trails Mark Williams by 1 frame to 4. Needs to find a bit of magic here. Zhang and string a couple of frames together to get himself back in the equation at least. You know, not even talking about forcing a decider for now. And of course, he will be inevitably need a decider if he is to win this match, which does look very unlikely at this moment in time, as we just wait for the players to come back for frame number 6 and the action to resume here in the first quarterfinal. For now, just a little reminder once again, there will be more action in the afternoon session. Mark Allen featuring with Si Xiaowei as his opponent. And the televised one is going to be Gary Wilson against John Higgins. The world number 5 going against the world number 22. As Williams here with a break to start off potentially the last frame of the match. As Zhang hasn't been able to string any sort of consistency there to his name in the last, well, pretty much in the last 3 frames, I would say. You know, it was him winning a dominant frame in the second frame, but still the one they could have lost had Williams been a little more clinical with the colors and his selections. But once again, there Zhang just seems to be going all in here for any sort of reds that he gets. In the end, leaves a chance here for Williams to have a straightforward opening and a break that could still be the final one in this match, as he gets a nice little kiss there off the red as he potted it, and he's now nicely lined up on the blue, the right side of it as well. The cushion does seem to be having a little bit of discomfort on the cue ball and his control. But Williams is up and running here with a break of 6. And yeah, with the way Zhang has played in the last couple of frames, I would expect this to be the final frame. But you never know in snooker. You know, momentum could shift quite quickly. And with Williams missing a couple of shots and Zhang making a couple of his own, you know, it could be a turnaround here. For now, it doesn't look like it's likely though, as Williams is on a break of 12, has got 3 more reds to try and make usage of. And he's going to be doing that in and around the black spot to A, maximize the sort of positional play and make it as easy for himself as possible, and B, accumulate the maximum amount of points to have a gap and a cushion to his opponent in frame number 6 here. He has a point tally of 20 already. And we'll be looking to make that a little bit more with still 2 more reds available until he has to go into the bunch. Something that, you know, players have not been too great, both of them in this match. But, of course, Williams have been finding some form in terms of his break building as of late. And it'll be a great timing for him to do that here in the frame that probably is the last one he needs. As another red disappears. So the black here for the cue ball to go into the bunch heavily there. Try and get himself in with a chance. Can't quite do that. So it looks like once again it'll be the end of break on 36 points unless one of those reds can get past each other. And it looks like he actually can. So misjudgment there from me. I thought they were blocking each other, but Williams didn't think so. And he's certainly continuing this break. And all of a sudden, you know, with 2 more reds available, the black is looking to disappear before that as well. 44 points will be, with still potentially a break of 60 there on the cards for Williams until another adjustment will have to be made to position. And there has been flying here, Williams, ever since the interval, and even before it, you know, the couple of frames before the interval, certainly the 4th one was a dominant display for him. After the mistake from Zhang earlier on. 52 points now. So has got a slightest of angle to try and develop the play to an extent here, Williams. Can't quite do any damage with it though. So the black for a break of 60. and then try and do something with the remaining of the reds. So try and force the cue ball into the bunch. And there you can see the cue ball and the cue action there from Williams, even off the table. Didn't expect the match to be this one-sided. Neither did I. Neither did I really, especially with Williams struggling against Selby. You know, Zhang was able to overcome Hill late on. Still not over quite yet, as Williams goes for a double attempt, and probably would have been over had he made that, but he hasn't. So Zhang survives for at least a couple of more moments, as the break ends here for Williams on the value of 60. Just gone over 2 hour mark there in the match, if you include the interval and the break in between the frames. The actual frames time, of course, will be a little bit less than that, as Zhang comes away with a decent safety, develops the Reds balls nicely. Still has got enough points for him to be back in this frame, but needs to make sure he doesn't give any invitation away to Williams as he tries to put one of those Reds on the cushion. Hasn't done too well with the cue ball, and has got Brown to come to his rescue. So clearly, if Zhang had any thoughts of going for the pot there, they'll be gone from him, because you can't be doing that with the Brown in your way to try and breach over. So we'll have to consider alternative approach, and needs to be a lot more careful in terms of considering a potential chance here to Williams. And yeah, taking his time there on the shot, as he knows any sort of shot that he misses could be his last shot of the frame, of the match, and of the campaign. So decides to take that red out of the equation, but couldn't have played that in the worst manner, as I think it is safe to say it is Mark Williams in the semi-final, who only has 3 more shots of still to play until he can become the first player to reach the semi-final stage for the first time this season for Mark. Would be a great start to the 3rd tournament campaign, and Zhang under there hasn't done enough in his match. And big off, yeah, and the end of the frame, and surely the end of the match as well, as Williams only has 3 more pots. All of them should be straightforward, as the blue should disappear first. And it does. So 66 ahead will be 67 with the next red, with 67 remaining on the table. So the next color for Zhang to be requiring 2 snookers. Will have to make it a little bit awkward for himself into the left middle. Needs to make sure he gets this one done and dusted though, as Zhang could still tie, with the position of the Reds being very favourable for him. And there you go. So Williams will be a little bit frustrated that he probably hasn't put this match to bed quite yet, but he still has his opponent needing 2 snookers. And actually don't think there's a guarantee that Zhang will come back to the table at all. Let's see if he does. Probably will, it being the potential last frame. So looks like he will for now, as the break ends for Williams. So just at least a couple of more shots here for Zhang that he thinks he should be able to play. And he goes for the pot there, misses it. Kubo is going to land safe there for him, and not too sure that he was actually playing that red, because if he was, surely with the position in terms of the points tally that he is, he would have been doing that only with a guarantee to land on either color. And there you go. He's offered his congratulations there to Mark Williams. Shake of the hand there, and it is Mark Williams that comes away as victorious here in the quarterfinal against Zhang Anda, winning 4 frames on the bounce and putting the first quarterfinal to bet here on table 1 in the best of 9. And it is now Mark Williams that will probably play Zhao Gurun there. That is only 1 frame away here from beating Stan Moody, being on the break earlier on here in frame number 6. But we're back for some more action in the afternoon session, with Gary Wilson and John Higgins featuring on the main table, with Mark Allen and Xi Xiaowei being the other 2 quarterfinalists battling for the semi-final spot For now though, thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back for some more action at the later stages of this Wuhan Open campaign.